live, and we're gonna be discussing a very controversial topic for this evening's live stream. I think that for this live stream, what we're going to do is that we're going to break down first what are the things that we need to understand with regards to the application process of the Miss Universe, what do you call this? Miss Universe bidding na process. And then we are going to break that down to the point that we are going to showcase what are the three main pageant business models that is currently at set in here in the Philippines, and things that we need to understand with regards to those business models. I think at this point in time, it's moot point to discuss um, a lot of the issues with regards to the bidding process. Kung is this something that we should be looking at an ethical standpoint? Because I think we have to understand this time around that with new owners, there is a new way, or there are new ways of doing things, and to understand yung perspective nila in order for us to really understand where the ship is going. And I think more than the bidding war that has happened, we need to understand yung reason, what are the reasons behind that. I think doon tayo magfo-focus for today's live stream. So before we do that, let's see, marami na yung mga na nakapasok, marami na ang nasa live stream. This is the first time na interested kayo sa topic na to. Rodvin Fiel, Cactus is here. Good evening, sabi ni Cactus. Sabi ni Rodvin Fiel, pa-attendance po, sir. Cactus is saying tuloy ang MUPH 2023. May post sila ngayon sa IG. That's good to hear, but that's not yung focus ng discussion natin for this evening. It will mainly focus on the Miss Universe perspective of bakit kinakailangan nilang gawin yung ginagawa nila with regards to the bidding process. I think everyone is at the throat of the new organization's owner, and Jakapong Jakatatatip. I think everybody is not understanding yung perspective na, and I am trying to decipher yung reasons behind the bidding war. Okay, so I think that's ultimately the key takeaway that we should all be looking at in today's live stream. Kasi it's easy for us na magbato ng puro-puro opinion whether this bidding war is something that is helpful for the organization. But I think I want to take a look at this stepping back and not look at it from a pageant fan's perspective. I want to look at this from a standpoint of someone who runs a business, or someone who understands negotiations, business decisions. So yun yung magiging what do you call this? Magiging point of view that I will be taking in today's live stream. So before we do that, mangumusta muna tayo ng mga attendees. For the ones who just came in into the live stream, please leave a like doon sa ating live stream today para tonight, para marami yung mas makakita and ma-trigger yung algorithm ng YouTube na dumami tayo dito sa conversation na ito. Hajiev, hello. What a mess. More interested who will get NUP. Travel Junkie is also here. Present sa wakas, di ako team replay. Sir, kumusta po? At kaloka ang MU. Yes, I agree. Medyo topsy-turvy ngayon yung mga nangyayari sa franchise na ito. A lot of national directors are at a chaotic, messy na mood, I believe. The national director of Seychelles and Mauritius gave up his position. Tapos we've seen Ghana na nag-opt out na sa bidding process. And then we're also hearing several bidders for the Philippines. 5 daw sila sa Pilipinas, and even with Venezuela na long-standing ang relationship nila sa Miss Venezuela na pageant. Mayroon ding mga forces behind it that is trying to do, to bid for the franchise. So medyo windang lahat ng mga national directors because of that. Jester PL, good evening Sir Jason. Good evening din sa'yo, Jester PL. Kumusta? Welcome to the channel. Johnny B, hello. Sashes&Scripts, watching from Novaliches. Hello, live from Araneta City, Quezon City. Okay, Tom Consensina says, good evening, Sir Jason. I feel na hindi completely on board ang mga execs ng MUO sa changes about the franchise. Do you think nagkakagulo sila ngayon doon? Will we expect screening tomorrow? I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. I think yung director daw ng franchise, director for franchisee ng Miss Universe organization, resigned. Essentially, yung kanyang last day of work sa organization is on, was it February 29, 28, parang ganon. So, I'm sure marami ang hindi agree with what's happening. However, I think we also need to understand yung perspective ng organization and the new owner on why she needs to do this. I think yun yung dapat nating maintindihan so that we are able to grasp this in this enormity of this mess or this, this situation. To have an understanding din yung kung ano yung nangyayari at the other side of the coin. And then we have Frankie Archangel. Good morning, Sir Jason. If it's morning there, you're probably in, I don't know, in the US. So good morning if in case. Ayan. So, first and foremost, I think what we need to understand with regards to this, change in the Miss Universe organization, especially on the franchisee and licensee na front, is that we need to understand yung perspective that everything moving forward that the Miss Universe organization is going to do is simply because they need to look at it from a business perspective. And we also, as fans, need to understand yung perspective na yon. Because if we don't look at it from a business perspective, we cannot understand yung motivations and yung motives ng organization and understand why they are doing this. Because looking now at more information that is made available to us with regards to the bidding process, we think that everything that the new owners and the Miss Universe organization is doing right now is to protect itself from and its future endeavors. Kasi they need to make sure that the pageant itself is financially afloat, that is financially viable long term, and hindi yung tipong viable lang siya for the next years, for the next 12 months, the next 24 months. They have to look, further down the line on that longevity, kumbaga. And in order for the organization to do that, they have to make do with what is currently available to them at their disposal. And the easiest way, the first thing that they can make changes with regards to their finances is to make changes on the licensee and the franchising fees. They have to make changes on the way that they earn revenue first and foremost in order for them to plan long term to execute yung mga long term plans nila, and at the same time be able to make pabongga on their pageant by first settling yung finances. Alam natin lahat, we're all privy to the information that Endeavor, during their years handling the Miss Universe organization, Endeavor made sure na very financially focused yung organization so that they are able to sustain themselves financially throughout the years. Problem is, because of the pandemic, nagkaroon ng problema sila on their finances and that it was operating at a loss. But if you are going to take out now the pandemic years, they are commercially viable. Problem with with that is that hindi natin pwedeng i-deny yung nangyari, that the pandemic hit, everything that is live entertainment went to a halt. So ibig sabihin ngayon, we have to face the reality na hindi sila nanggaling sa isang very rosy na financial situation when the Miss Universe organization was purchased by Kun An. So this means that Kun An, being a businesswoman that she is, she needs to make sure na moving forward, hindi magkakaroon ng senaryo na ganito, na hindi magkakaroon ng uh, opportunity or situation where the Miss Universe organization is left vulnerable because of finances. And I think that is a very smart thing to consider, especially if you are a new owner of a of a global brand like the Miss Universe organization. So the first thing that you would necessarily do is to make sure na ayusin mo muna yung finances. I know that yung last minute na purchase ng Miss Universe organization last year, fourth quarter, hindi nagkaroon ng ganung ka-smooth na preparations because napaka-tight yung oras between the purchase versus the pageant being set up. Marami pang pwedeng actually gawin si Kun An with regards to the way that the pageant was held. In fact, people, Filipinos na we have contacts with who went and watched Miss Universe in NOLA, marami pa silang nakikitang mga butas in terms of the production, in terms of the way that the pageant was held in NOLA. Kumbaga, marami pa silang nakikita ang pwede pang i-improve in terms of production, in terms of handling yung finals, and ensuring yung seats ng mga taong bumili ng tickets and all of that. Hindi ko na muna ikukwento yung mga behind the scenes na nangyari doon because it will veer away from the main point of today's live stream. Now, with that being said, na hindi perfect yung NOLA na edition ng Miss Universe, ngayon at tapos na yung pageant, as an owner, Kun An can now focus on the things that matters. Kumbaga, the hard work as the new owner begins. And dito, we are now going to see, moving forward, that everything that she will be doing would probably be for the Miss Universe brand to strengthen itself towards being more stable in terms of its finances. Licensing fee, unfortunately, is the first thing na maapektuhan dyan. That's simply because in order for the Miss Universe brand to thrive, they need to make sure that they partner with organizations, with local, national organizations that have, longevity. Na hindi pwedeng here, this year, next year, hindi magpapadala ng candidate dahil walang pera or hindi nakapag-prepare yung organization in terms of, everything that needs to be paid for the finances, for the fees, hindi nakapag-prepare on the candidate ng mga wardrobes, ng mga travel, na mga arrangements, because we have seen that happen during the IMG era na we have a candidate from Africa who instead of flying to the US, nagbarko siya just to just to leave yung for the competition. So those are things na I think magandang ginagawa ng organization ngayon para ma-plancha siya, maayos siya. Because nowadays, we need to make sure na they are looking at the franchise fees from a market value that reflects yung region nila. I think that was something that was indicative in the memo that the Miss Universe organization sent to the national organizations. So ibig sabihin that hindi na pwede yung mga tipong they skirt out on their financial obligations dahil hindi sila nakapag-prepare. And if we are looking at yung tawag ito yung history ng Miss Universe na franchising payments, the mere fact that nagsabi si Kun An na, or rather that the organization allegedly or rumoredly is looking at financial payments as a one-time thing, then we know that this organization is meaning serious business. And ngayon, with all of the information that's made available to us because of yung mga leakages doon sa application process, we now have an understanding that local organizations must have sufficient financial funding in order for them to perpetuate yung relationship nila with the organization. From a business standpoint, that makes sense. Dahil, of course, hindi ako kukuha ng partner na here today, gone tomorrow. I would want someone of a business partner that would have a long-term relationship with me and at the same time checks out financially. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng nandyan nga yung loyalty pero wala namang financial backing. This is essentially because pageants nowadays is a business, and malaking business malaking halaga yung pinapasok ng mga businesses na ito. And I think that is the one thing that we need to understand from the standpoint of the new owner, because kinakailangan nilang maging afloat. They are aware of the fans' clamor for more glamour, for more for a more elevated production, but they cannot do that without financial backing. You cannot create money if you don't have money, because money can only birth money if it's there, it's available. So we need to understand from a business perspective that you cannot expand without pouring in resources into the business. Of course, the organization, the new owner will pour, her own money into the organization, pero kinakailangan din that the business would be able to would be able to be financially stable in itself. It's pretty much like this. When ano bang let's give an example. Lesage, the embroidery company, that was the most famous and the most technically one of the best embroiderers in the French haute couture business, was dying, essentially because walang successor yung founder nito. Chanel bought Lesage in order to invigorate Lesage and to make it self-sustaining. And because of the finances that the owners of Chanel, the Wertheimer family, poured into Lesage. Ngayon, si Lesage is one of the is one of the biggest na embroidery business in France nowadays. So so much that any skill that Lesage teaches doon sa kanilang École Lesage, or the embroidery school that they made, is attributed to the fact that Chanel, the owners of Chanel, bought bought Lesage in order for it to to perpetuate long term. Kaya ganito din yung nakikita kong situation with the Miss Universe organization. Kun An is essentially Chanel buying out the Miss Universe organization, but the thing is Chanel needs to make sure na kaya ni Lesage na mag self-sustain. And this is by one, putting on investment on Lesage so that they can expand, have a school where they can teach embroidery to couturiers and embroiderers from all over the world, which makes it profitable. So aside from the fact that they are servicing, multiple fashion houses in Paris, it ranges from Balmain, from Dior to other haute couture houses aside from Chanel, they are also making money out of yung école les sages nila. That creates, a business model for Lesage to be able to sustain itself financially. And that is essentially what Kun An is doing with the Miss Universe organization. So magpo-pour in siya ng pera, but at the same time, she needs to make sure that every financial or business partner of the Miss Universe organization would also be, financially stable institutions themselves. Kasi hindi pwedeng may problema na nga yung Miss Universe organization na pinanggalingan niyang organization before na may issue sa pera, hindi pwedeng magpatuloy under her leadership yung issues na yon on the finances. So she needs to make sure that anyone who will partner with the Miss Universe organization are stable financially as local national institutions. And I think that is a very smart move for Kun An dahil she ensures that the long-term viability of the pageant is based on the long-term viability of its partners. So kumbaga, damay-damay na lang ang nangyayari. Kasi kung stable yung local partners nila, they won't have to do this bidding war all over again in the next several years because you can now have an institution, a pageant where you can bid out a long-term licensee agreement with local partners. So ang nangyayari nito, because you are able to create long-term partnerships with these people who are financially stable, then it also, kumbaga, bumabalik doon sa stability ng Miss Universe organization yung nangyayari. So I think that is the situation na gustong mangyari ni Kun An. From a business perspective, this is a very smart move. However, this also means that because of the bidding war that is currently happening, na we weed out yung mga ayaw magipag-participate doon sa bidding na process. And I think doon tayo nagkaroon ng pushback with regards to the Miss Universe organization dahil tingin natin very messy yung the way that it was rolled out. I'm not saying na perfect ang rollout ng changes na ito by the Miss Universe organization. Far from it. It was actually very messy. And it was very cutthroat. Yung if nabasa nyo lahat yung memo, parang napaka sharp yung and direct to the point yung wording that was used in the memo. And I think if you are a international business na katulad ng Miss Universe, you should have softened the blow a little bit more because each culture, each nationality has a different way of communicating. Have a different way of understanding, there are cultural differences. Kasi may mga kultura na kinakailangan pasakalyahin mo muna that you have to sweet talk them first. And then there are also cultures like the Westerners, like the Americans, where give it to me straight yung kanilang way of communication. So I think that is where the lost in translation came in. I think it was, or it should have been the responsibility of the Miss Universe organization to make sure that the way that they communicated their memo is done so that each international market would have understood yung meaning and yung intention. Kasi importante yung intention when you are discussing, with business partners. Because business, essentially, is a relationship. And kung wala yung understanding ng how each partner communicates with each other, doon nagkakaroon ng problema ng lost in translation because somewhere in the memo, yung humanity, yung makataong pakikipag-ugnayan, the humane way of relating and communicating with other people of different culture is lost. And I think yun yung kasalanan ng Miss Universe organization doon. They should have softened the blow. Okay? Now, before I go through the questions doon sa application process, I want to read muna yung mga comments natin kasi I'm sure kating-kati na kayo doon sa mga comments. Okay? Medyo marami to, so pagpasensyahan nyo na. Ah, uh, wait. Aba, mahaba-haba. Okay. There. Frankie Archangel. I'm in California. Okay. Hello there. Okay, nawala ang ayun there. Sabi ni Frankie, I'm in California po. Smiley face. Well then, hello, good morning there in California. Mark Gonzalez says, good evening, Sir Jason. What I fear about the bidding war is that smaller countries will not be able to pitch and wealthier foreign entities might buy their franchise, wrecking how it's being run. I agree. Because if you are able to, to bid from, let's say, you are a country like Botswana, and sabihin natin na ang Botswana, the owner is based from, or pwedeng you have a own sorry you have a bidder who grew up in Botswana but is currently living in Nigeria. That person can bid for Botswana and for Nigeria as a franchise, as a licensing partner. I think essentially ganun yung mangyayari. I think that's how it can happen. And if there is already a long-standing relationship for, let's say, an organization in Botswana, tapos i-overtake ng isa, magkakaroon siguro ng issue among the locals on how that happens. But then again, that is something that needs to be addressed by the local organizations. Kasi nakalagay naman doon sa questionnaires is if the bidder, the one who wants to purchase the licensee, has authority to work in the country that they are applying for. Kung essentially meron siyang legal authority to do so, then I don't think may problema. However, it does make sense yung sinabi mo, Mark, na pwedeng ma-elbow out yung mga long-standing na smaller na organizations, especially if, for example, you have someone like yung nangyari ngayon dito sa Indonesia, where one entity is able to take over, the licenses for Malaysia and Indonesia. So yes, I do get your point on that. But again, if may legal authority yung person na nagbid, ang hirap kasi ang hirap niya kasing kalabanin, especially with the new arrangements now, especially with what's happening now. So I do understand yung sinasabi mo, and it's painful, but it's a hard reality, and it happens in the business world. Balta Costas says, hi, Sir Jason. It's like I'm in a very intimate masterclass anyway. This mess in Miss U may serve as a wake-up call sa MUPH. Michael Ferrendo, ba't nagiging Miss USA na ang MU? Na important ang credentials, profession skills. Bumababa nga rating ng Miss USA like the Shona Military, Miss USA 27, Chemist, Chesley Chris na walang universal beauty. Okay, Michael, the thing kasi is you are talking about a market na pababa na yung interest ng mga tao with pageantry as a whole. And if you were looking at yung mga situations ngayon where recently Pageant of the Year was named Miss Earth USA, Miss Earth United States, ang Pageant of the Year sa USA ngayon, makikita mo that the trend towards a more woke, a more socially relevant na pageant doon yung trend, doon yung movement ngayon when it comes to the American markets. So it does make sense na ang hahanapin ng Miss USA is someone who has the credentials, someone who is who can be palatable to the woke market. Okay? Um, but I do not agree doon sa sinabi mo na walang universal beauty itong mga ito because I think it just so happened that ang kinalakhan siguro na kultura, anyone who is black is not considered beautiful. However, there are people who are more expanding yung kanilang understanding and yung appreciation of what is beautiful. And I think that is something that we should all start to look at, that just because morena or dark skin, that doesn't mean that they're not beautiful. The problem is the way that we consume beauty, the way that we define beauty as very European, Caucasian centric. For the longest time, we have this colonizer mentality that the only people who are beautiful are the people with light skin. And I think that took away the power from people who have dark skin, like Filipinos, like Latinos, like the blacks, like the Afro-Americans. Nawala sa kanila yung opportunities to be seen, to be heard at a global scale because for the longest time, the definition of beauty is very Western-centric. And I think with Miss USA trying to redefine that, trying to make sure that every person of color has equal shot, equal opportunity of winning, then that is something that we should all celebrate. Becky Lu Blanco, hello universe! Ayun, hello din, Becky Lu. Nice seeing you here sa ating pa-live stream. Joseph Young, ngayon lang kasi naging super vocal and transparent ang Miss Universe organization, kaya tayo shocked lahat. Pero what do we know before JKN step in, di ba? I think that's a good perspective, Joseph, because finally now we understand how the the licensee agreement works. And because it takes two to tango essentially. Kung hindi mo gusto yung patuntunan, kung hindi mo gusto yung arrangement, then leave. 'Di ba? Parang ano lang 'yan eh, parang yung mga national directors na nagsabi na this is not our brand. This is not who we are as a brand. This is not, this is not a good reflection of our values na nakikipag-patintero just for the chance to have the franchise under their name. There are people who, like long-standing pageants like Binibining Pilipinas na ayaw makipag-bidding war because it cheapens, their standing. 'Di ba? Parang ganun lang 'yun eh. If you value yourself enough, and your worth as an organization, if you think that you can stand without the Miss Universe organization, which Binibining Pilipinas is able to do so, then this bidding war is definitely not for you. Ishtin, present suggestion, silent subscriber no more. Hello Ish. Pa-like naman dyan sa mga bagong nagko-comment dito sa ating live stream. Thank you for joining us. And I hope na mag-enjoy ka sa ating regular na live stream. I'm trying now to make it every weekend thing, either Saturday or Sunday, para magkaroon tayo ng touch points every now and then. Joseph Young continues. Sabi niya, siguro they just have to choose better words in cascading new organization rules and demands. Reason why ang daming fallouts like Indonesia, Seychelles, and others. Agree. Kasi nga, each culture has a different way of communicating. Kinakailangan you have to understand how they communicate. May mga kultura na katulad ng mga Asians that you need to establish the relationship. You need to make small talk first before going to the business. There are I think that's common for Southeast Asian countries na ganun eh, that you na parang amu-amuin mo muna, parang naliligaw lang muna tapos saka mo papasakalyahin ng ito yung mga gusto kong i-discuss na mga ano sa'yo, na mga business proposal sa'yo. I think that's, that's something na ano na sana naintindihan nung sino man yung nagsulat ng memo. Because the memo itself was so cutthroat. It was to very direct business that parang bullet train siya na pag nasagasaan ka, warak ka. Ganun yung ganun yung feeling kasi nung memo. It was too direct to the point that it lacked yung humanity and warmth. Okay? Especially when it comes to multiple dealings with multiple nationalities, with multiple values, personalities involved. James Pahati, hello Sir Jason. Kung may nanalo sa bidding next year pa magte-take over. From what I heard, yes, that's more likely to happen kasi if I'm not mistaken, nung nag-usap kami ni Tita Lavinia, parang 2024 pa talaga yung for the Philippines na magkakaroon ng changes. Ayan. Johan, good evening Sir Jason. Sa 28 pa ba malalaman kung sino kukoronahan na MD na may karapatan talaga magpadala ng kandidata ng pagpag for the next edition of Miss Universe? More likely after pa. Kasi if 28 ng Eastern Standard Time, that means US time yon. That means March 1st na sa atin dito sa Pilipinas. Sabi ni James, I agree with this bidding so Miss Universe can know who are true business partners. People need to learn that days of nationalism in pageantry was during the Cold War era. It was during the Trump era we saw the transition to full capitalism and IMG started to stand alone as a pageant. Johan says if business perspective, kaya sana ang BBP lumaban, kaya lang di na talaga nila kukunin ng MU kasi iba na din talaga ang gusto ng MU. Gusto nila sila lang yung corona, wala nang iba. Yes, that's the thing kasi. And besides, you have to understand na yung owners ng Miss Universe organization ngayon versus the owners of Binibining Pilipinas come from two different generations. Very, Hispanic, old school, old world money ang Binibining Pilipinas. While self-made millionaire itong new owner ng Miss Universe. So the way that they do business would probably be very different. I don't think na it would be a good match at this point in time, yung Binibining Pilipinas and the Miss Universe organization. Although I've heard that rumors lang hindi ako sure kung totoo. I've heard na mas gugustuhin yata daw nitong organization na to do business with more established na mga organizations dito sa Pilipinas. So we will see if moving forward after nung 5-year na contract ng MU with MUPH under Empire, kung ano ang mangyayari. Because right now, I think, what I've heard is that yung 2024 na bidding for the Miss Universe na pageant, yun yung pinag-uusapan ngayon. So which means that whoever wins the bidding war now would probably start the pageant next year under their ownership. So ayun. Where were we? Magandang gabi po Sir Jason, sabi ni Ping at sa lahat. Johan is saying, Sir Jason, sana parang food chain franchise lang din ang MU na kapag hindi niya kayang i-handle ng franchise, yung franchise niya ay yung may company owner na muna sasalo para hindi magsara yung franchise ng bansa. Simply Lurker says, good evening sir, kung stability lang din ang hanap nila sa partner, then choose na yung may generational wealth. Sure ang longevity. That's the thing. Kahit naman may generational wealth ka, kung si generational wealth mismo ayaw makipag-bid, paano na? Diba? Parang it's kind of difficult to do, and that is why the most likely scenario is for Miss Universe to partner with an organization that has a strong business model, which I will be discussing a little bit later on. Okay, I think it's about time that we discuss yung mga questions na nakalagay doon sa application form, and ano yung mga implications na yon. I think we will have to deal with these questions one by one. And the first thing is, are you legally authorized to work in a country you are applying for? And this, again, as I said earlier, um, calls back to the fact that in the bidding war na nangyari sa Indonesia, yung owner ng franchisee or yung CEO na nakakuha ng franchisee is able to get both allegedly yung Indonesian and Malaysian franchise and appointed two different national directors for each. I think that is very much something that can happen, especially in the ASEAN region. Kasi yung mga countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, yun yung mga bansa na magkakadikit na magkakapareho ng area. Much like how Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand are within the same, same neighborhood. Medyo unique lang ang Pilipinas because we are a standalone country surrounded by water as its borders. And we're not necessarily, very much attached to other countries in the mainland na Asia. I think yun yung yun yung advantage natin as a country, because as a powerhouse country, we can pretty much stand alone as a single entity. And I think maganda yung ganun na you have an organization that is dedicated solely for your country, solely for your franchise. I think that is one of the things that we have the advantage for. The second question was, can you commit fully to the daily practical operations of a national contest? Now, this is where it gets a little bit more difficult, because if you are a organization that has multiple business, you have a, for example, you are a company that handles the pageant, but at the same time you have other businesses around. I think it will be very difficult for you to commit to a daily operations of the pageant. And this is where I am racking my brains with regards to the empire tawag nito, na organization, because they have a modeling agency, they have a talent management na agency, if I believe. Meron pa silang Empire PH TV, and they also manage the Miss Universe organization. If you have, just one or several people managing all 3-4 businesses, it might be difficult to commit to just managing yung day-to-day operations ng pageant, ng isang national na pageant. Because I think essentially that is what the question is asking of the organization, na kinakailangan nilang mag-commit. Kaya nilang mag-commit into into the daily operations of a national pageant. I think dito nagkakaroon ng problema, because if you are an entity that has multiple businesses, ang hirap hati-hatiin ng attention mo, and here you have Miss Universe organization that might essentially request you to focus all your energies on this particular endeavor, on this particular business with Miss Universe organization. So I think that's going to be something that each national organization, not just here in the Philippines, but other national organizations as well, need to really be looking at. The third question is, how do you fund your contest and direction for the year 2023? And I think that will be something that is very much, very much, baka magkamali ako na sasabihin dito. I think that is a question that will tie up to doon sa tatlong business models na pag-uusapan natin a little bit later on. Okay? Because if you are a pageant na naka-solely based yung revenues mo on sponsorship, that might be something that is going to be a shaky ground nowadays. Kasi ang sponsors, pwedeng mawala the year after. So if you're relying on that, solely on that, then mahihirapan ka to sustain that long term. Um, Fourth question is, do you apply for sponsorships? Of course, you need to have sponsors in your pageant kasi I think that is one of the biggest moneymaker doon sa pageant na dito sa mga pageants natin dito sa Pilipinas. Fifth question is, what investment do you plan to make in the Miss Universe organization in the MUO business for 2023? So aside from the fact that you have to um, pull out money for your national pageant, sustain the organization for a full year, you also have to invest with the Miss Universe organization's business. And dito pumapasok yung mga products that they are releasing now, especially yung Miss Universe Water. I think dito magfa-factor in yung Miss Universe Water na nakikita nating nagiging trending sa sa mga Thai pageant pages. Because moving forward, I think this is going to be something that is going to be a mainstay in your relationship with the organization. And then sixth na question was, how much would you be willing and able to pay as an attendance fee for the current Miss Universe to attend local events? So ibig sabihin, hindi blanket yung singil ng attendance fee ng Miss Universe winner on the national na mga pageants, because it will be corresponding perhaps doon sa market value ng country na yon. So if you are a pageant powerhouse, if you are a pageant craze country like Thailand, Indonesia, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and Colombia, I think it is safe to assume na mas mataas slightly yung appearance fee ng winners sa mga markets na to, simply because there is clamor for pageantry in those markets. So therefore, kapag mas mataas yung clamor for it, pag mas mataas yung interest for pageantry in those markets, definitely tataas din yung presyo ng mga attendance fees na yan, because it's commensurate kinakailangan per market it reflects yung market value nung property na yon doon sa market na yon. So it just makes sense. And then what other pageants do you currently have or intend to have the license for? And dito tayo nagkakaroon ng issue. Dito I think magkakaroon tayo ng sakit ng ulo, because we don't want a scenario that you have a Miss Universe Philippines na competition, tapos the runners up are Miss Universe Philippines Supranational, Miss Universe Philippines Charm International. Parang hindi maganda yata pakinggan. So they might have to relegate the runners up as the tawag ito, the representative doon sa mga international pageants na secondary in level. Kasi it is ang pangit nga din naman kasing pakinggan na Miss Universe Philippines Supranational, 'di ba? Parang so ano yung title niya talaga? Para saan ba siya talaga? It gets confusing. So and also I think we don't want the scenario, the Miss South Africa scenario of 2020, wherein the main winner chose to be sent to Miss World, and then the first runner-up went to supranational. Tapos yung second runner-up, the third placer in the top 3, was sent to Miss Universe. And nakita naman natin kung anong nangyari doon, kung anong nangyari kay Natasha. Essentially, di ba, parang pumalakpak siya. And I think we don't want that to happen, because the year following that, the Miss South Africa winners essentially were sent to Miss Universe, and that is why you have Lalela Mswane uh, being second runner-up in Miss Universe, and then you have Ndavi Nokeri making it to the top 16 this year. And mas maganda siguro yung sistema that the main winner is sent to other international competitions aside from Miss Universe, because that would also allow the promise of the local organization to Miss Supranational or to Miss World, that they will be sending their main winner to these pageants. And I think that is a much better way of moving forward. That way, hindi rin nasasayang yung main winner mo. So for example, if but let's give an example. If for example, si Michelle D sumali sa Miss Universe Philippines ulit this year at nanalo siyang Miss Universe Philippines, if the Miss Supranational competition is going to be slated, for example, for the month of June, then she can compete at Miss Supranational and then compete again later at Miss Universe. That way, hindi kumbaga parang hindi nawawala yung promise ng national organization to send their main winner to these international competitions. Will Miss Universe Philippines do that? I don't know, but I hope that they will try to try to think of it na as a possibility, as a possible option later on. Now, with all these 7 questions na kinakailangan mong sagutan in your applications for the license of the Miss Universe or organization for your country, you need to make sure that you are being honest with your responses, because if you are not being honest with your responses, they can always get back to you and say that you lied in the application, and they can take away the licensee from you. Kasi there are fine prints, of course, definitely doon sa mga contracts that you are going to sign with them. If indeed that there is small clauses in the contract that says, if the Miss Universe organization finds that the licensee applicant lied or been manipulative with the information that they provided, we have the right to remove, to end this contract and to null and void this contract moving forward. So there are those clauses na pwede nilang idagdag doon sa contract. So you need to be very honest with your responses. Now, with that being said, I want to move muna doon sa ating mga comments, and then before we finally move to doon sa mga business models that I really want to discuss for today's live stream. Okay? Let's jump into the comments. James Pahati says, people need to understand the history of pageantry, from monarchy and aristocracy to national institutions to modern day pageants, which are now private ownership or capitalist to manage feelings. Bonbon C, tingin mo gagaya na ba si Miss World and other pageants sa ganyang kalakaran ng Miss Universe na money first muna? Okay, we have to discuss yung business models muna before I can sufficiently explain what I think with regards to your question, Bonbon. Kasi different business models in pageantry means different ways of executing, different ways of money making, different ways of financing. Medyo technical ito na usapan yung tanong mo, okay? But I will try to answer that later. Lutong Pinoy at iba pa. More power to you, sir. New fan here. Thank you. Iwan naman kayo ng like para tawag nito, para dumami yung yung nakakakita ng ating live stream. Wait, where are we? I think Joseph Young, in a more woke world nowadays, and the coming in of new owners, organizations should be in with times, and rules should have been rules would have to be cascaded. What we want to know is how is the Miss Universe Philippines reacting. I haven't heard anything on that front yet, so hindi ko masasagot yung tanong na yan. But I hope that they are able to um, adjust accordingly. Kasi hindi pwedeng ano eh, hindi pwedeng status quo lang yung magiging reaction mo. With all of these changes, you need to be abreast with the times. You have to react accordingly and you have to plan accordingly. Um, mm, Will Garcia, hi Sir Jason. Personally, sana ibalik sa BPCI ang Miss Universe franchise pero separate pageant. Okay, I've heard rumors na the BPCI, even if bumalik sa kanila ang Miss Universe Philippines na title, the BPCI is not very keen on the standalone na pageant for Miss Universe Philippines. Dahil ayaw din naman nila na mag-suffer yung binibining Pilipinas because of that. It is more likely that a lot of girls would um, would apply for Miss Universe Philippines than Binibining Pilipinas if Binibining Pilipinas has two different pageants for that. And ayaw nila na mag-suffer yung quality of candidates ng Binibining Pilipinas. And that makes sense because Binibining Pilipinas has been their baby for the longest time. It has been something that they've built from the 1960s. I believe they started the first Binibining Pilipinas pageant at 1964. They are in their 60th year next year. So they have big plans for that. I've heard. And I think it makes sense na ayaw nilang mag-suffer yung quality ng mga candidates ng Binibining Pilipinas. Ayaw nilang mag-suffer yung quality ng production, ng focus, ng entertainment and all. So it makes sense. But for me, I think there can be a way to circumvent this to make, if ever na ma-acquire ulit ng Binibining Pilipinas yung Miss Universe franchise, is what they could do is to just elect a Binibining Pilipinas winner. And this also satisfies yung need ng mga fans that are clamoring for just one title for Binibini and have the runners-up compete at various, international competitions. And what I would do personally was to make sure that the Binibining Pilipinas winner, the standalone Binibining Pilipinas winner, have the option to either compete at Miss Universe or Miss International, and then have the runners-up compete separately on other international competitions like Miss Intercon, Miss Globe, and baka may new titles sila na hindi ko pa alam at this point. So they could appoint the runners-up for that. I think that's a much better situation or a much better plan for me. But then again, that is if Binibining Pilipinas is keen on getting back the Miss Universe Philippines na franchise. Because from how I see it, they are sitting comfortably in a standalone pageant of their own, separate from Miss Universe, because they have the brand equity to do so. Kita nyo naman na hindi naman nagsuffer ng ganun kalaki yung Binibining Pilipinas pageant when humiwalay ang Miss Universe Philippines sa kanila. And looking at the candidates this year that have very interesting assets and strengths, magkakaiba man sila ng background, magkakaiba man sila ng height, magkakaiba man sila ng typical beauty. We have mestizas, morenas, although mas nangingibabaw yung mga morenas sa Binibining Pilipinas this year. I think that ultimately, even the short candidates have the ability to speak. Even yung mga matatangkat na mga girls, they have resumes that they can boast of. I mean, you have a doctor there, you have a Masters of Law graduate there, you have a TV reporter, you have a GMA artist, you have a you have a lot of girls with different backgrounds na they can boast with in terms of yung accomplishments nila. So I think this, the mere fact that hindi nauubusan ng ng magagandang babae na nag-a-apply sa Binibining Pilipinas, it only goes to show that the Binibining Pilipinas has earned its stripes, and therefore, they can boast of themselves as the most prestigious still na national pageant dito sa Pilipinas, because tanggalan mo man sila ng franchise, they can still stand alone. Unlike other national pageants na pag tinanggal mo yung Miss Universe na franchise sa kanila, anong maiiwan sa kanila? So I think yun yung difference ng Binibining Pilipinas eh. They have, essentially, kumbaga, pundasyon at pillar na sila ng pageantry dito sa Pilipinas, and hindi na maaalis yun. Next, we have Will Garcia. Hi, Sir Jason. Personally, sana ibalik sa BPCI ang Miss Universe franchise pero separate pageants. Then we have a comment here from... Wait. Michael Florendo. Sir Jason, ayaw ko bumalik sa BBP ang MUP kasi sobrang luma na ng production at technology ng BBP. The problem is, BBP can ensure longevity. I'm not sure with, with other organizations. And I think longevity is something that you'd want in a partner, especially from the Miss Universe organization's perspective. Kasi ngayon, kung they are really very keen on the business aspect, you would want to partner with an organization like Binibining Pilipinas who has multiple ties with multiple businesses, with conglomerates, kumbaga. Kasi they have the financial muscle, na hindi sila reliant on the mercy of sponsors, on other business partners, because they themselves, even without sponsors, kaya nilang ipagpatuloy yung pageant. Especially this is very important, especially during the years na hindi tayo pumapasok sa semis ng Miss Universe, where we barely scratch the top 10, and this has happened for like 10 years na mahigit na drought. Throughout those years, kahit na walang mga Procter and Gamble na nag-sponsor sa Binibining Pilipinas, the mere fact that the Araneta conglomerate is able to finance the pageant on its own and pay full payments every year, year in and year out, it says something about the capacity of the Binibining Pilipinas pageant to be self-sustaining, to be financially viable. And I think that is something that if I were a Miss Universe, owner, that is something that I will be looking for in a partner. So more or less, don't kick, Binibining Pilipinas out because of dahil sa tingin mo makaluma, because looking now at how they have continuously progressed, the mere fact that hindi lang isa o dalawang glam shots ang nilalabas nila every year. Meron silang evening gown, swimsuit glam shots, head shots, Binibining Pilipinas t-shirt glam shots. And all of these are funded by Binibining Pilipinas alone. They don't rely on other outside partners for all of these glam shots. It says that these people have money to burn. The mere fact that yung annual budget or rather, sorry, not annual budget, that the budget for staging the Binibining Pilipinas pageant allegedly is almost twice as the national franchise for Miss Universe Philippines. Allegedly, it says something that Binibining Pilipinas has money. It's just that they prioritize where they fund in yung pera na yon. So imagine that. Kung ang Binibining Pilipinas, ang budget niya for 3 months of the national pageant alone is approximately almost 2 times of the rumored na franchise fee ng Miss Universe dito sa Pilipinas, then it would tell you how much of a viable business Binibining Pilipinas is. So just because you don't see the value on Binibining Pilipinas being a long-standing, a long existing na brand, it doesn't mean that they don't have deep pockets to dig in. Yan. Joseph Young, how is MUPH catching up? Kaya ba nila ang long-term financial plan to stage MUPH? Do they have the right media reach, sponsors and advocacy, and people to run the org? Who are they? Who are they up against? Again, rumors with regards to the bidding war dito sa Pilipinas, where the usual we've heard about. I think nakita ko sa mga different mga pageant pages here that Olivia Quido is one of those na allegedly bidding for the franchise. You also have GMA. I think I've posted about this a day ago. You also have, if I'm not mistaken, ALV as one of the alleged na nagbibid for the franchise, and I forgot the other one. So pagpasensyahan niyo na hindi ko maalala yung ikaapat. So that comprises the five alleged and rumored na mga entities bidding for the Miss Universe franchise. Nasaan na ba tayo? Joseph Young, other than sponsorships, I think a solid advocacy can be a potential source of business sustainability. Look at Miss Earth. I agree. And I think moving forward, you have to really put in sustainability and eco-friendly practices into your core, because essentially, even the fashion industry itself, doon yung thrust, doon yung direction that every brand has to, focus themselves and center themselves towards too. Kung hindi nyo na itatanong, one of the biggest luxury brands, which is Kering, the one that owns Gucci, I think Alexander McQueen is also one of their brands, Stella McCartney, and etc. Kering as a group is moving towards a more sustainable and a more eco-friendly business practices, and that is why from their original name, which is Printemps Redoute PPR, Printemps something, and it's PPR. I forgot yung second P doon sa acronym na yon. They've rebranded themselves into Kering because they want the company as a whole to be more caring towards the environment. So that's a very good way of pivoting. If the fashion industry itself is moving towards that, I think we as a industry, the pageant industry, have to start pivoting towards that area as well. So I am hoping na this is something that pageant girls would try to incorporate in their campaigns this year, because sustainability is a long-standing trend, mega trend. Okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, sustainability is going to be a mega trend that is going to be a long-term, trend that everyone in the industry, in the fashion industry, is going to move towards too. And this will also affect other sub-industries in manufacturing, especially in manufacturing, because industries that have subtractive manufacturing process will start thinking of ways to do additive manufacturing process that has less wastage or zero waste production. So I think moving forward, everyone is going to be heading towards that. In one of the schools that I am teaching in, it was one of the it's one of the topics that has been incorporated in one of my syllabus that I taught for students on their third years, because mas naiintindihan nila yung need for more sustainable fashion practices. So I think the pageant industry is actually late in going on board with this trend. I hope that moving forward, mas maraming mga pageant girls would incorporate more sustainable fabrics, more sustainable fashions in their wardrobes for the national pageants, hindi lang for Philippines Earth, but also for Binibining Pilipinas, Miss World Philippines, and Miss Universe Philippines. Kasi this is something that is going to be, that's going to stay for a long period of time. Okay? Lemwall 235. Hey Sir Jason, kumusta ang license ng Pilipinas? Is it safe to say na nasa MUPH pa since sa stories nila, Madam, good mood silang lahat? I think they are safe for this year. I think nabanggit I think na may nagsabi sa akin na nabanggit nga daw ni Tita Lavinia sa kanyang pa-live stream that it's safe to say na ang 2023 is safe with Empire. So that's that's uh, that's something na we all should we should all look forward for confirmation from the Miss Universe Philippines organization. Joseph Young, a pageant or finishing school can also be a good source of revenue. I agree. Medyo limited and may niche market talaga, pero pag na-establish ng mabuti, may potential. My only reservation for that, Joseph, is that you already have pageant camps. Yung mga pageant camps kasi na to, they already provide the training eh. So, I think probably we need to circle back on other ways where pageant organizations can increase or can get more revenue. Ayan. Nako, hayaan na. Wag naman na kayong mag-away sa comments, okay? Hayaan niyo na. Kung hindi nagagandahan si Michael sa production ng BBP, pagbigyan niyo na kasi ganun din naman ganun din naman yung mga comments noon nung mga preliminaries ng Miss Universe Philippines na ang dilim-dilim, ganyan, hindi nagta-translate sa live stream yung pagka-HD. So, it's not a Binibining Pilipinas issue. It's also a technology issue here in the Philippines na hindi siguro kaya ng bandwidth ng Pilipinas yung HD na masustain niya for long periods of time. So, this is not something that is unique sa MUPH or sa Binibining Pilipinas. Both pageants, even Miss Philippines Earth may issue din sa live stream paminsan-minsan. So, it's not it's not something na unique to just one pageant. I think the problem the problem here is on the infrastructure here in the Philippines, not on the capacity ng mga national pageants to have HD na cameras. I think ang problema is yung 5G natin dito, hindi totoong 5G kasi nagre-revert siya sa 2G, sa 3G every now and then. Hindi consistent yung lakas ng internet natin dito sa Pilipinas. And you would know that especially kapag umuulan, kapag mahangin yung panahon. So it's pointless na mag-away-away kung sino ang mas HD dahil kung totoosin, ang talagang HD is mga Thai. Sila yung may capacity na mag-broadcast ng HD. So there. Sabi ni Joseph Young, okay, malaking issue yan kasi Sir Jason, look at how Nawat reacted sa billing ng Crown sa BBP. Nagkaroon ng issue ang main org sa national org. Emmanuel CEO, madami na siguro lalong hindi na makakasali na African countries sa Miss U. That's the thing kasi, I don't think that it's going to be a bidding war na magpapataasan ng what do you call this? Magpapataasan lang ng or licensing fee. I think aside from that, there is this whole questionnaire that they would have to base their decisions on. It's not just yung how much they can pour into the licensing fee, but also what are the opportunities that they can bring into with regards to yung kanilang offer for the licensing fee. Like for example, will they be able to invest on the Miss Universe organization business? So kung mag-decide ang Miss Universe organization na magkaroon ng mga line of bags, luxury bags for sale. Yung Miss Universe water nga, will the local licensee be able to bring those merchandise in for the Philippines? I think that's another conversation that they can bring into with regards to the bidding process, na meron silang other ways to leverage on, not just on the licensing fee. Um, Frozen Spirit. Good PM, Sir Jason. Absent si Mark tonight. Now I fully understand why MUPH is probably acquired, why MUPH probably acquired additional crowns sa kanilang patimpalak dahil sa move na ito ng bagong owner, if ever mawala sa kanila ang Miss Universe franchise. And I think maganda rin na gawin nila yon, because if in case mas soften yung blow sa kanila kapag nawala sa kanila yung Miss Universe na franchise. Where are we? Joseph Young. It's a partnership business talaga, and ang hirap i-manage. Thus the exit of so many international pageants sa BBP. Dorothy V. Jones is saying, this is a good test for JKN and how it will deal with an impending tsunami of feedback. This is the start of the real business management and style of Anne. Let's observe and learn. Which is, again, as I said, if you are a self-made millionaire, much like Anne, I think you are going to be very attention detailed when it comes to the newest acquisition that you have. Judging from the history, from the past of the Miss Universe organization, na from IMG era, very tumultuous yung finances nila. I think the mere fact that you have a very acute businesswoman like JKN managing the way that the franchise licensee is being run, at tutok siya doon sa value na maipapasok ng mga local national partners niya, then that is something na we all should be looking forward to, because this is what essentially is going to be the deciding factor on how we are going to look at the Miss Universe organization as a whole. Kasi if you don't have money as an international organization, you cannot make all of this pabongga ng mga ng mga paandar on your pageant. Hindi mo kayang tapatan si Uncle Nawat doon sa mga paandar niya if you don't have all the finances hindi naayos yung finances mo, hindi mo magagawa lahat ng mga plano mo, kasi in order for you to execute plans, you need to be financially stable. Meron kang pinaghuhugutan ng budget dahil again, because of the rising inflation nowadays, all over the world, everything is getting much more expensive. Production cost is going to be much more expensive. Labor is going to be much more expensive, especially on the production and setup of the pageant na side. So you really need to make sure that you hire the very best creatives for your pageant. And the best means you have to shell out money. So, ganun lang yon. Joseph Yang, yung tanong mo about paano umalis yung MU sa BBP, that's another discussion, because we are going to open a lot of cans with with worms in it, because maraming nagsanga-sangang chismis, kwento dyan sa usapan na yan. Eagle Third, do you think mawawala ang pagka-powerhouse and momentum ng Pilipinas? So ano na ang formula sa new business models para manalo? Okay, now, I want to move away now to our discussion and deal with this topic that I have long tried to discuss with you, the business models in pageantry. Kasi there are essentially three pageant business models that is currently very much visible in the Philippines, and in essence throughout the pageant industry. You have first the traditional pageant system, something that is akin to the Miss Universe Philippines, something akin to the Miss Philippines Earth na pageant system. And then you have the charity organization system, which is pretty much your typical Binibining Pilipinas and Miss World na pageants. And then you have the media conglomerate, which is, I think the best example would have been, the partnership of the Miss Universe organization with NBC Universal under the Trump era, and the TPN Miss Universe Thailand model that we have nowadays. Now, ano yung mga pagkakaiba ng mga business models na ito? It's essentially the way that the organization are being run, how the revenues are acquired, and what are the limitations of each organizations. Now, let's talk first doon sa traditional pageant system. This business model is the longest, oldest na mga pageant system in existence, because the what do you call this, the traditional pageant system relies heavily on sponsors or on other entities funding it. So yung mga barangay na mga business, sorry, yung mga barangay na mga pageants that rely on the LGU funding, yung mga provincial pageants that rely on funding from their provincial governors or from their provincial government system. These are examples of the traditional na pageant system. They are heavily reliant on money coming in from sponsors, money coming from the outside, pouring into the organization. And this system also relies heavily on revenues that can be earned from managing yung mga winners nila, whether it's public appearances, whether it's endorsement deals with brands and companies. They are usually, for profit na mga organization, and because they are a for profit ang organization, they are taxed. So yung mga revenues nila, by the end of the day, end of the year, or at the end of the fiscal year, they have to pay their taxes to the government. That is one of the downsides of the traditional na pageant system. There is always a caveat to it towards the end of the day, especially if you have a national pageant system that relies on sponsorship, that is, heavily a business for profit na organization. At the end of the day, they have to pay taxes. Even perhaps their prizes, unless it is pre-taxed, kinakailangan pang bayaran nila yung mga taxes nila. So there are cases where a national, a national winner, pag yung cash prizes niya is, let's say, nasa 500,000, for example, pwede pang mabawasan yung 500,000 niya na prize winnings if it is not pre-taxed. If the organization does not pay for the taxes for the prize winning. This is a very, sponsor reliant or outside reliant na tawag nito na what do you call this? Outside reliant na organization. It relies on people funding it. And this is the reason why marami ang hindi ganon ka-stable in terms of its finances. A way to increase, kumbaga, yung kanilang revenue is to have merchandise that is sold with their logos on it. They have souvenir programs. They have souvenir what do you call this? Souvenir mga merchandise to sell in order for them to regenerate profits. And with that being said, when you have merchandise, then you also have to pour in capital in producing those merchandise. So may konting business acumen that needs to be included there. Another way of what do you call this? Another way of earning money from the traditional pageant system is that if you are for example, a business entity na may modeling and may talent management na arm like Miss Universe Philippines, they can earn additional income from the talent management system, which is much similar to what Kun An revealed during the conference last year, where she illustrated these are the 8 revenue income streams for the Miss Universe organization, and kasama doon yung talent management na portion ng Miss Universe, wherein the Miss Universe for any public appearances gets paid for every appearance fee, and a portion of the appearance fee is funneled back into the organization. Then a portion of that is also given to the Miss Universe winner. The next na business model is to have the charity pageant system, wherein the organization is a non-profit na organization which relies on donors, benefactors from the outside companies that would funnel in money into the charity organization, and has sponsors as well. So, ang difference niya doon sa traditional pageant system is that, yes, it is still reliant on, other entities for its long-term viability. The difference is that they are not heavily taxed, unlike the for business or for profit na the business entity. And this is where the large chunk of the difference is. Kasi if you are not heavily taxed, a difference of 5%, 10% in the taxes that you pay, malaking halaga na yon doon sa matitipid mo as an organization. Because, for example, if you are taxed 30% for your traditional na pageant system, there's a possibility na 0 to 10% lang yung taxable doon sa charity na pageant system. And if, for example, you have something like Binibining Pilipinas, wherein its main what do you call this? Its parent organization is the Araneta Group of Companies. The Araneta Group of Companies can funnel in money into the pageant system, but at the same time, the Araneta Group of Companies can write it off as a tax, as a tax loss or as a donation, and therefore, pwede siyang ibawas doon sa taxable na revenue that they can declare. So, which means that hindi magiging problema kay Binibining Pilipinas na it is funneled in money, because yung amount that the Araneta Group of companies will funnel into Binibining Pilipinas, they can write it off later when they are filing for their taxes. So essentially, kahit na nawalan ng pera si Araneta Group of Companies, they can write it off as non-taxable income. And the same thing that can happen doon sa Binibining Pilipinas. I hope there are lawyers here who can clarify this further, because yun yung pagkakaintindi ko doon sa relationship na ito. I think the Araneta Group of Companies can write it off as a loss, or as a contribution, as a donation, and Binibining Pilipinas does not get taxes on contributions from companies, because it is a charitable institution. So I think it's a win-win situation for both Binibining Pilipinas and for the Araneta Group of Companies, and for any entity that funnels in donations to the organization. So I think that is something that makes this relationship work long term. And I think this is a genius way of propagating a pageant system. And that is why, if you're looking at the Miss World organization, they have been so much financially afloat for the longest time, because yung kanilang mga revenues is not taxed, and they can funnel that in back to the pageant organization, whichever is left after donating doon sa mga causes nila. So that is one way of doing pageant business here in the industry. Then the next is that you have a media conglomerate like TPN, with MUT, like NBC Universal before with the Miss Universe organization. The good thing about this is that there are unlimited possibilities in terms of revenue, for both organizations. Because if, for example, GMA wins the bid for the Miss Universe, licensee here in the Philippines, they can create essentially any content that they can broadcast for profit later on, in their channel. Aside from advertising revenue that they can get, for the commercials for the finals and even the preliminaries of the Miss Universe Miss Universe pageant, they can even create content, reality show like, what JKN said before in her press conferences, as one of the possible income generating activities for the pageant. Aside from that, is that they can partner with multiple, advertisers, that they have for brand endorsements. Yun yung maganda doon sa media conglomerate, because GMA has a arm, that manages talent. And that is very good na career path for whoever wins Miss Universe Philippines under the GMA na licensee, because automatically during her reign and even possibly after her reign, she can be managed by the GMA Talent Center, and that would create visibility for the winner long term. This would have been a great partnership sana with Binibining Pilipinas and ABS-CBN kung buhay pa ang ABS-CBN na franchise, and they have their own management system as well na magandang maging partners sana sila. But with GMA, that is now possible, and I think we cannot discount the fact that in terms of reach, mas malaki ang reach ng GMA because they are the biggest national network here in the Philippines currently. Yung reach nila umaabot mula Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and that is a very kumbaga, that is a very huge market that they can tap in terms of the number of candidates that they can bring into. So in terms of visibility, reach, in terms of value that they can create for the pageant, napakalaki ng possibility, napakalaki nung opportunities that a television, a media conglomerate can provide. Kasi hindi lang naman sa television active ang GMA o ang mga media conglomerates nito. They also have social media, and each social media has different reach. Each platform, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, they have different reach. If you put them all together, then you essentially have a very large network that can work for you as a organization. So we need to make sure na naiintindihan natin yon, that these partnerships with media conglomerates does not only encourage visibility for the winner and the candidates themselves, but also it allows progression in terms of careers later on. So if in case, like for example, Miriam Kiambao in 1999 became a television host for GMA, several GMA na mga programs, we can also assume that this can happen for whoever becomes the Miss Universe Philippines winner under the GMA licensee. Okay, so I think yun yung three pageant business models that are something that we should look up into, na kinakailangan natin na maintindihan, because if moving forward, the business or rather the licensee is being bid by different organizations, we can now at least have an idea on what are the things that each organization can forth or bring into the proverbial table. So I think that is something na I hope I was able to clarify because this is essentially, a good way of assessing which organization is more likely to have a good impact with the Miss Universe owners and Miss Universe organization. Okay, now let's get back to the uh, comments. Okay, Cactus says BBP owns Pizza Hut, Dairy Queen, and Taco Bell, and then they also have mga what do you call this, real estate na mga tawag nito, na mga businesses. So hindi sila mauubusan ng pera. Ayan. Ako, Michael Ferrendo, paulit-ulit na lang sinasabi mo. Walang innovation, eme-eme. Diyos ko, para ka ng sirang plaka naman. If you don't like Binibining Pilipinas, then wala na tayong magagawa diyan. The mere fact that they have existed long before you existed, I think is is a testament to their longevity. Kay HD man o hindi, the mere fact that they have lasted that long, it means that they are doing something right. So, you like them, you don't like them, keb sa kanila yon, because ultimately, you're not probably the market that they're catering to. So, sorry. Harsh, pero if you don't like them, they might not be even aware of your existence. So, there. Joseph Young, BBP ang may pinakamalalim na bulsa among all the orgs, to be honest. They have hotel, mall, fast food chain, venue, and even international reach. Malalim na ang ugat nila beyond pageantry and business. And aside from that, the mere fact that you have the Araneta Coliseum alone, who has a history of its own, remember the Thrilla in Manila with Muhammad Ali? That's something that is etched in, the history of the Araneta group of companies, and essentially doon sa pop culture natin dito sa Pilipinas. Joseph Young said, okay, sorry. Cactus says at Joseph Young, yes, Gateway Mall 2 will open this year, and also Ibis Styles actually. Cactus. It is a European style na hotel. It will be located at the other end of the what do you call this? Of the Araneta Coliseum. So essentially, the Araneta Coliseum is going to be surrounded by Novotel on this side, and then on the opposite end, you have Ibis style hotel. Then you have Gateway on this end, and then Gateway 2 pala on this opposite side of Novotel, and the opposite side of Ibis, you have the original na Gateway. So maraming maintindihan ko kung bakit walang pera ngayon ang Binibining Pilipinas or ang Araneta to host Miss Intercontinental, because they are funneling their money onto these projects. Malalaking mga projects ang mga ito. These are multi-million dollar na mga projects, because the Ibis hotel style at Ibis style na hotel is going to be multiple multiple rooms and multiple floors na hotel. And the Gateway Mall 2 will have a chapel, will have different floors that is for shopping and for retail brands, and lahat ng mga ito, they will be able to connect through through passageways to the Araneta Coliseum. So, ganun na lang kalaki yung mga projects ng Araneta this year, and that is why naiintindihan ko kung bakit very tight sila when it comes to spending. And this also means that they have good business acumen, because they are not necessarily, bring out money on activities that does not bring them back revenue. Okay, Jester PL. Naalala ko pa nung bata ako, ang BBP broadcasted by GMA. If GMA acquires the license of MUPH, I hope sobrang HD na at hindi from year kopong-kopong. I agree, because you have to remember, the last 2 years, nung nawala ang ABS-CBN and ang Binibining Pilipinas partner with Stellar Productions. And Stellar Productions, kung ano yung capacity and capability ng kanilang mga equipments, yun yung nakikita natin. So, if GMA has, better broadcasting na equipment, then I think that would serve the pageant better. Kasi the Binibining Pilipinas, the BPCI outsources yung production na side. And whoever is their production partner, they are the ones in charge of all the equipment. Silang bahala doon. Ang importante lang kasi dito is the Binibining Pilipinas provides the venue, provides the kumbaga, they provide the raw materials for the production team to build the pageant and to build the flow of the finals, kumbaga. So, 'yon. I hope na mas naiintindihan nyo yung punto na yon, kasi hindi yun control ng Binibining Pilipinas yung equipment. It's essentially kung ano ang equipment ng production team, yun dun sila magre-rely. Trish Hovelianos, may nakakuha na daw po ng franchise. May clue ba kayo? I think nabanggit ko din naman before that the license allegedly with Empire is for 5 years, including yung year ni Gazzini. So, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So, let's just wait for confirmation na lang from MUPH with regards to that. Dorothy V. Jones, to me, one of the perfect partners to MUO will be the L'Oreal Group. It's a good fit within a group of cosmetics, fashion, luxury, and consumer brands. L'Oreal is also very active in social advocacies. I agree. However, I don't think that L'Oreal is on that trajectory. So, tignan natin. It would be a good, a great partnership if mangyari, but I am not very keen to that happening anytime soon. Si BF Gregorio, sana wag na si blank please. Okay. Love Nimrod, hello, good evening din sa'yo. Team replay ka ngayon. Medyo marami-rami na tayong napag-usapan. We started at 7:05 today. So, if you have any questions, just backtrack na lang. Okay. Jon Snow is actually asking a very interesting question. Jon Snow 79 is asking, question, on the flip side, paano kung mag-fail yung bagong system? Paano kung walang mag-bid? Gaya na lang sa Europe at African continents na hindi sila ganon ka-enthusiastic sa Mali. Thanks. Then that is a risk, I think, that Kun-an would have to face. Because any move that has money involved, whether it's whether it's licensing fees, whether it's attendance fees, lahat yan may possible worst case scenario. And if Kun-an is so brave and very confident with her move to have this bidding war to happen, then perhaps she has already calculated yung risks nung move na ito, and kung kaya niyang indahin financially yung mangyayari, then I think that's on her. Essentially din naman kasi I think meron at merong mga magpipick up if a entity does not want to participate with the bidding war. I think if other countries are not able to participate in the bidding war, then these are probably smaller na mga countries. And kapag smaller countries kasi, more likely mas maliliit yung mga nila yung mga franchise fees nila. So if Kun-an is focusing on the big players, then there might be a plan there. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the plan is, but I am sure as a businesswoman, nakalculate na niya yung mga risks na yon. Um, Daniel Pius, and good evening, sir. Nakahabol ako today. Ayan. My God, it's 8:30 na pala, or past 8:30. I think it's 8:51 na. So, medyo marami-rami na rin na tayong na-discuss. Let's just finish up these comments, and then we'll end the live stream after. Okay, Dorothy V. Jones is saying, Anne's current business demeanor could probably dovetail with her empowerment mantra. Her emphasis on her causes, which must be free from conservative business influence. From what I know, CSR projects are tax deductible. I'm not sure if this applies to the BPCI model. I think it applies to the BPCI model as well, Dorothy, kasi donations on a non-profit organization, kung may tax man, very minimal. So, yon. Um, I think I think nga no it's a good idea to have a non-profit organization run a pageant, kasi everything that pumapasok sa kanila doesn't need to be, to be fully taxed, unlike revenues for profit na mga businesses. The GMA MUO business model, once it pushes through, would be ideal. The possibilities would be unlimited, local pageants to regional to final national pageant. 'Di ba, Dorothy? I mean, thank God you got it. Kasi I think among all the business models, I think yung the business model that works best, I believe, for the Miss Universe organization is the media conglomerate na business model. I think nakita niya yon with Thailand, because essentially, because of, yung partnership ng MUT with other industry players, naipasok nila si Muad, naipasok nila yung mga iba't mga advertisers so sa sa Miss Universe organization. So I think, yung GMA MUO na business partnership would make, the most sense. Okay, JB, what if makipag-collaborate ang MUPH, essentially Empire, sa GMA7 for reality show for MUPH or guesting? That's the thing. If nagbid on its own ang GMA, then they don't want that. They want the full package for themselves. It means that they have, kasi tingnan na, let's talk, honestly with regards to this. There is more value that you can create with an organization like GMA7 as compared to Empire PH. Kasi ang Empire PH, kung ang kanilang business model is something like what they did in 2021, where pay-per-view yung finals, with GMA7, yung revenue that they can accumulate just with a single or two major advertisers for the finals broadcasted throughout the country, mas malaki yung yung kikitain nila doon sa dalawang advertisers na yun as compared to if pay-per-view ng Empire PH. So doon ka magkakaroon ng idea on ano yung revenue that a media conglomerate can accumulate for the Miss Universe organization. So there. Bonbon C. Ano yung ang dami mong tawa? Sa pool, rami kong tawa. Okay, Lutong Pinoy at iba pa. Very nice discussion on the business model of the beauty pageant industry. Thank you. I try to make the content that I produce something as research as much as I can. Of course, I'm not foolproof 100%. There are times na pwede rin akong magkamali. So if may mga legal jargons or mga legalities kayo na nalalaman, please feel free to comment so that we can correct this in the conversation. Dorothy V. Jones, how possible is it for someone like Mr. Nawat to acquire the Philippine franchise? That's the thing, Dorothy. There is a law here in the Philippines that if you are going to have a business, you're planning to have a business here, then you have to have a Filipino partner. So hindi pwedeng kay nawat lang fully yung franchise. Kasi may laws tayo dito sa Philippines, may mga rules, may mga batas tayo sa Pilipinas na kinakailangan merong isang local na entity who is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, at least 30 to 50% yung ownership at stake doon sa business. So, yun yung mga yun na kinakailangan nating siliksikin. Kasi I am not a lawyer, I am not very much informed on yung mga batas na yon, but I am aware na meron tayong batas na protects, protects Filipinos, businesses dito sa Pilipinas. Ayan. Bonbon C, I don't know. Hindi ako sure kung meron pang hawak si Chavit kasi doon sa Miss Universe program book, hindi siya ang nakalagay as owner ng franchise. It's Empire PH. So Becky Blanco, permiso, the franchise remains with MUP Org. Okay, Travel Junkie, for me, whoever gets it, as long as they will let the MUPH winner decide who will be her team, and Catriona is the ND. Alam mo, naririnig ko nga yan na there is a rumor that the Miss Universe organization actually wants Catriona to be the national director for the Miss Universe Philippines. And it does make sense kasi siya naman talaga yung yung batayan, siya naman talaga yung standard of what a Miss Universe is supposed to be. And the problem only with that is that ang loyalty ni Catriona sa Binibining Pilipinas. So that's probably suntok sa buwan na mangyari. Unless bumalik sa Binibining Pilipinas yung franchise. So I don't know. These are scenarios that is widely speculation lang at this point. Marco Cortez, anong thoughts mo about Ghana na hindi na sila sasali next year? Every national organization has their own right, has their own choice when it comes to participating with Miss Universe organization. If there are entities, pageant, local national pageants who are not willing or who are not participating in the bidding war, then it only means that they know their value and that they don't want to be treated as a mere number. And I think yan yung isa sa mga missed opportunities ng memo because it made it look like the national organizations are just numbers to them. So, sana mas maayos yung wording ng memo na yon, the leaked memo that we saw with some Venezuelan pageant pages, because that memo was very cutthroat and it was very it was too brash yung the way that it was worded. JD, sabi ni JD, MU org, change is not about personal change or creating new organizations. Organizational change is focused on what is happening inside existing organizations and within their environments. Okay. Dorothy V. Jones is saying, Empire's revenue model is actually very conservative. If I were JKN, I would be very wary of long-term relationships. I wouldn't be able to find much meat around the bones of this corporation. Bonbon C, if that happens, di natin makikita si Kat sa NU if mag-ND siya. I actually want Kat to be more involved with the final telecast, like a host, or maybe the main host of the pageant rather than the national directorship, because it will only box her in doon sa work niya with the organization. If she is a talent, then she can pursue other passions. She can pursue acting, singing, hosting, and a lot of different opportunities kesa yung nababox in siya sa pageant na na directorship. Um, Amara Silvera, hello from Italia. Oh, hello. How are you? I hope you're doing well there in Italy, and I hope you're enjoying our live stream. Ayan. Nico Veneracion, hello, good evening, sir. Thoughts about Mauritius and Seychelles dropping the franchise? So sad why these franchising issues are are all over social media. These things should be solved internally. I agree. Unfortunately, because these these things has become public. I think there is a good way of handling this internally. But so far, the good thing is that Miss Universe organization as a whole has been very tight-lipped up until this point. We're hoping that if in case that Kun An will be open to discuss this on her visit in Malaysia and Indonesia on the 17th, then sana mabigyan niya ng liwanag these issues. What is the organization's thinking and what are their opinions with this so much backlash. Dorothy V. Jones, sabi niya, a GMA, BPCI, NUO business model would be another ideal partnership, adding more innovations moving forward. I agree. Kasi, actually, that's a good point, Dorothy. Kasi I think that Binibining Pilipinas can take care of the pageant na, na area. Kumbaga, they are strong in that. Super ano na sila dyan, super established na sila dyan. Binibining Pilipinas is the only pageant here in the Philippines that can provide, the glamour that we've all looking for. And aside from that, the girls, their candidates are very approachable, accessible on social media. Kapag titignan mo yung mga Binibining Pilipinas candidates, they are very engaging sa mga pageant media at sa mga fans. And also, I think that the Binibining Pilipinas is the only pageant here in the Philippines that can provide lots of value in terms of social media reach, in terms of, pageant experience for the candidates. I mean, sa loob ng 3 buwan, marami silang mga activities for the girls that not only enriches yung experience nila for the pageant, but also helps them, understand yung need for, for mental fortitude, need for stamina, because the 3-month pageant is not an easy thing to undergo. It's mentally taxing, it's financially taxing. So it does make sense that if in case magtuloy yung ganyan na partnership, it is, as you said, ideal. However, how realistic it is, ibang usapan na yon, because I don't think kapag nakuha ng GMA yung, for example, yung licensee, they would want to partner with another local organization for the pageant side. But then again, we don't know. Hopefully, that could be the case. Amara Silvera says, agree with the memo. Sana mas may heart sa announcement ng changes. Travel Junkie, what if Catriona bids for BPCI as ND? Pasok ka sa banga. Pasok sa banga ka JKN. Renee Villarta, hi Jason, I missed this live session. Is this going to be recorded for YouTube viewing again from Jazz Beauties? Yes. After ng live stream na to, it will be posted doon sa ating live stream channel. Dito sa ating YouTube channel, okay? Okay, let's just finish this last two remaining na mga questions and comments. Sabi ni Amara Silvera, I want to know your opinion regarding if the current franchise owner is not able to secure it. Who do you think deserve na the franchise na mas magiging okay for PH? I think everybody is in the comments has already mentioned that they've read on Missosology that Empire PH retains the ownership of the franchise. Dorothy V. Jones is saying, I'm seeing that JKN could possibly be a lot kinder business-wise to the organizations who would stick it out. JKN would definitely create value for them staying and supporting MUO. I agree. I think it's much better to cultivate a long-standing working relationships with the current pool of national directors. However, um, if these organizations are not living up to their potential or not maximizing their potential, then I think JKN has the right also to make changes as she deemed fit. Um, Amara Severa is saying BBP, Binibining Pilipinas is world-class, proven track record, relatable, and quality candidates too. Oh, okay. Si Rod. Rod 1973-03-25. We are just spectators. Our only job is to appreciate the beauty queens that they produce and enjoy their show. Okay. So ayan, I think I've already read up all of the comments, and I think I want to end up our live stream with this thought. Change is painful, but ultimately, change is something that we need to understand and we need to welcome. We need to be very proactive in the way that these changes are rolling. And we need to understand the perspective of the Miss Universe organization in terms of why they are implementing these changes. Ultimately, I believe that these changes, these are business strategy decisions that would ultimately help the organization. Kasi knowing the history of the Miss Universe organization with the IMG Endeavor era, I think Kun An has the business acumen to lead and propel the organization forwards towards a more financially stable na company, towards a more financially sustaining na organization. And I'm sorry, this is just the beginning of such changes. Ultimately, I think that we need to be on board with these changes, but I also agree with everybody's thoughts on being more humane, to have more heart in the way that these communications are rolled out. It is 2023. And this is a new year, a new beginning for the organization. I think with the Miss Universe 2022 edition being held earlier this year at NOLA, it is a learning, a learning experience for us to learn to pivot, to learn to react and be proactive with these changes. Because ultimately, these changes are here for good, and there's nothing that we can do about it. We can whine, we can gripe at what the organization is doing, but ultimately, I think what they are doing is in order for them to be self-sustaining towards a long-term na goal. I think that is ultimately something na kinakailangan nating maintindihan, and I hope that whoever gets or whoever wins the bidding war for 2024, they would propel the local organization towards a more sustainable business model and make it worthwhile for everyone from the candidates to the organization itself and to the fans that is supporting the organization and to supporting the pageant. Ayan. There. I think I've said what I've said. Thank you very much for everyone who joined me in this live stream. Thank you very much sa mga nag-like at nag-subscribe sa ating channel. Um, this would have not been a successful na live stream if it wasn't for your participation and for your engagement in tonight's live stream. So thank you very much. I hope to see you in our next live stream again soon. And do take care and have a great week up ahead. So that's it. See you in our next episode. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.